Siyanamukela ohlelweni lwe-Ithala Edu platform enilethulelwa ngezilokotho ezinhle Ithala kanye ne-Go Digital SA Foundation. Thamelani izifundo ze-mathematics, i-accounting, isiZulu ulimi lwasekhaya, isiNgisi, i-FAL, i-physical science, i-geography, ezobuchwepheshe, i-computer applications technology kanye namaklasi e-learner wellness okungukuzilolonga ngokomqondo kanye nomzimba. Lezi zifundo zethulwa nsuku zonke kusukela ngoMsombuluko kuya ngoLwesihlanu kuqala ngehora lesi-4 kuya kwelesihlanu u-4 kuya ku-5 ntambama nangomgqibelo kusukela ligamanxe ihora lesi-8 8:30 kuze kugamanxe ihora lokuqala emini 1:30. Zithameleni futhi lezi zifundo emsakazweni Ukhozi FM njalo ngoLwesine kusukela ngo-9 kuya ku-10 ebusuku. Ningangena ekhasini lethu lika-Facebook elithi Go Digital SA_movement noma kwi-YouTube uthi Go Digital SA Foundation. Siyethemba nizolijabulela lolu hlelo oluhlose ukunifundisa futhi lulekelele kulokho enikufunda ezikoleni zenu. Luthokozeleni-ke lolu hlelo nimeme nabo bonke abanye abafundi bebanga le-12 grade 12 ukuze nabo bazuze kulo futhi nonke nicijeleke ukuphumelela kwizivivinyo zenu zokuphela konyaka.
Sanibonani bafundi ngomgqibelo omuhle nje 10/10/2020. Ngiyethemba ukuthi isonto liniphathe kahle. Namhlanje sizobheka itopic ye-access noma lokho sikujwayele kakhulu ukubiza nge-database. Now, database form a part of your CAT paper 1 and it's very important ukuthi uyazi ngoba inama-marks amaningi 40 plus marks all the time. Mangabe ngasiyo i-question eyodwa no-40 marks kuba nama-questions amabili asuke ne-database nje kuphela. Na database iba nezinto eziningi eziba khona. Khumbulani njalo lezi zifundo nisithulelwa uSanele Msebi njalo ngomgqibelo ngo-11:30 to 12:30. Nawe izinto ofanele ukuthi uzikhumbule ukuthi i-database siba nama-tables, sibe nama-queries, sibe nama-report, sibe nama-forms. Izona izinto ezifoma i-curriculum yethu le. Now sizobheka kuma-tables ama-validation rules ukuthi asebenza kanjani. Sibheke i-input mask, ama-comma boxes nama-expressions. Siphinde sibheke kuma-queries and or queries nama-groupings asebenza kanjani, nama-functions futhi asebenza kanjani, as well as ama-calculations nama-query builders. Kwi-report ikhona futhi grouping, sizobheka i-grouping uyenza kanjani nama-calculations inside ama-grouping enziwa kanjani. Mangabe isikhathi sisivumela sizophinde sibheke futhi ama-form ukuthi sishintsha kanjani ama-components using ama-content controls. Now, before siqhubeke kakhulu, kunento eyodwa engicela ukuthi siyikhumbule. Sinenhlanhla kakhulu ngamanje izinto sithola sesinikeziwe zona kwi-access yethu. But uma ukhumbula kahle i-database yakho, uma uyithola noma uzoyivula, ayifani nalamanye ama-database noma namanye ama-applications aka-Microsoft whereby you are able to do things before you even save it. With database kufanele uqale kuqala uyisave kuqala before you do anything. So uma ubuka lapha into your screen une-blank database. Now you'll have to click on a blank database and then it requires you to give the name of the database yakho. Now once you're done with that, ekugcina kosuku sizofanele ukwenza njani? Sizofanele ukuthi uyinikeze i-location la usuzoyisave khona. So by default it goes to my documents. So I'm gonna leave it there with my documents for now. And then we say create. So sesiyazi manje kuma documents ethu sina database. Yonke into sukuyenza lapho, even your table, before you change the view of the table, you have to give it a name. But other than that, going back to our presentation, if you must understand ukuthi masikhuluma ngama-validation rule, sisuke sikhuluma ngezinto ezinjani. Ofisa izinto lezo usithola only if your view is changed to datasheet view. Now remember, we've got datasheet view and a design view. So the view are very important for you to understand how do you go about solving our problems. Now, the minute you are given an instruction, you have to change your view to design view because you are designing. Notice ukuthi awazi ukuthi uye ku design view ungazange uze save table lakho unless it has already been saved. So we're gonna leave our table as it is as table 1. So press OK because we are presenting. Now we're just talking about data type as well. This is also important for you to understand data type tasebenza kanjani, from auto number, short text, long text, etc. Now you're gonna masiqhubeka isikhathi sizobheka ngamunye ukuthi asebenza kanjani. But njengamanje into engifuna sibheke ama-validation rule ethu nama-validation text. Lento engikhuluma ngayo ikhona here, but uzoyithola kuphela uma i-data type yakho ikubani, iku-short text or ku-long text. Awukwazi ukuthi ungayithola mangabe kuukuthi uku-currency noma ku-auto number. So this is where you're going to find your validation rule. Now the example are given here. I-validation rule is whereby utshela umuntu osuke ezosebenzisa i-computer ukuthi u1 no2 no3 angufuni, bese umnikeza instruction ukuthi kungani ngamfuni 1 no2 no3. So kubalulekile ukuthi u-understand ngoba there's not even one single time la engasebenzi khona. Now we have a validation rule and then we have a validation text. Those are two different things. Remember, a validation rule will tell the person also get something into your database while the validation text will tell the person why so it's always important to understand such things. And then moving on, if you understand the full-time validation rule, validation rule based on or depending on if field so here you've got a validation rule and a validation text that you can actually use. But I actually want to use them. You don't necessarily have to always use UM or UF. You can also use date. You can also use upper cases. Upper cases. You can also use date must be required to wait it a particular order. But in a part of our local, we're gonna go on and do activities. So the activities now are gonna help us see understand so things I'm gonna open the database. Now forgetting this one, already. I'm gonna open a new database. I can always go to file, open, and then open the particular file and so you go to file and then you go to open. But I'm not gonna go to file to open because I know where my database is. I'm just gonna go to my window and open 2016 one. Now, low 2016 one, it's gonna. Oh, there's also another part. Enable content. Now, enable content maybe may not make a much effect most of the exam, but it's always important to go to shy because you may find what you're going to as I was in a near future. Now let's look at the instructions we have. Now is the instruction nako sakhuluma njalo validation rule. Is the instruction nako set the field properties of the gram field so that the user is forced to enter data in this field. Now lento le engikhuluma ngayo ingena ngaphansi kuka required. Now into market lot isikhathi esiningi kodwa sesingenotice importance yakhona. Now sizokwenza example here. I'm going to open a table jewelry. Now when I open a table jewelry kufanele ukuthi ngishintshe i-view yami ngiyise ku design view. Now why am I changing my view to design view? Because njengamanje designer whatever that I'm required to do. And then notice one thing, uma bebethe i-field name yakho grams, do not and ngiyakuphinda futhi lokho. See through it ukuthi you don't do ama-instructions with field esuke wrong because abantu abaningi bayafeyila kakhulu database because of such reasons. Njengamanje unama-field ahlukahlukene, jewelry, stones, grams, etc. But you are asked ukuthi hambe yokubani uye kwi-field ka-gram. Lento lena futhi ngeke ngayikhuluma even naku-Excel couple of days ago. Ukuthi kubalulekile kakhulu ukuthi mabe ukuthi uya kwi-cell ethile, you go to the particular cell because no one left enough time to go and look for i-formula ebhalile kwi-cell ethile. Kube kushiwo ukuthi ibhalwe kwi-formula noma kwi-cell ethile. So same thing applies here. We cannot have enough time to go to metal, stones, jewelry ID, no valuation date. Sibe sazi ukuthi you're supposed to put in your work ngaphansi kabani, ngaphansi kuka-grams. Now, this is what it says. Set the field properties of the grams field so that the user is forced to enter data. Now, usebenza kanjani yelo part le? Siyithola lapha na ku required. Ngichazile ukuthi lapha ezansi sinama field properties amaningi ahlukahlukene. In the interest of time, ngabe siyawachaza ngayinye. But I believe ukuthi masiqhubeka nama activities, you're going to have enough time to see through it ukuthi at least one guy cover. Now, unale part ebhalwe required there. layer part ebhalwe required, it's always set at no. Ngaso sonke isikhathi. So what you need to do, you need to change it to yes. What does this mean when njengomuntu osebenzisa database? This field will gonna be a required field. Ngamanye amagama, I'm gonna save here and then I'm gonna change the view. I can put anything. Normally I can decide not to put anything in my field, but it's a must for me ukuthi ngifake something into that particular field. So akithi nje validation date wami ngiyafaka nje something. Asithi ngifake data namhlanje and then enter. But it said you must enter a value in the grams field. Why does it say so? Because I said it's a required field. Lawa manje ngeke zibe nankinga now, but because it's a required field, yes is actually required. Going back to the instructions, the user can only enter a value greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80. Nalokho futhi kubalulekile. Now, usuthi ngamagama umuntu osikuzobhala la, khumbula sikhuluma ngama validation rule nama validation text. Umuntu osikuzobhala la, kufanele azi ukuthi izothi mina whatever okufakayo la kumele kube greater than or equals to 10 or less than 80. So we are back to the instruction again, so let's recombo take short. The user can only enter a value greater than or less than 10 or less than or equals to 80. My apologies. So it's greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80. So this means this is less than or equals to 80, but here it's only greater than 10. Now and futhi into efinde ibe inkinga kakhulu database ukuthi so-create ukuthi into sokuyibhala zakho lapho ubhala izinto okuyizona zona, because once wabhala information esuke i-wrong then i-formula yakho ayibisavuma ukuthi ungene lapho. Okay, let us sort something here engenza ukuthi sinikeze inkinga ukuthi sifake le formula yethu. So validation rule, our validation rule says it's greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80, and then you press enter. In things of what I've noticed, maybe you did not notice, ukuthi lento ngiyifakile la bese ngifake indalo wrong ku default value, kufanele ngifake u validation rule. Enye ama frustrations amakhulu ozohlangabezana nawo uma ufika ku database whereby you putting something and ungazi ukuthi why mase sekwenzeka i-error noma ingasafuni ukusolveka. Remember, you cannot change a view without saving it first. So when I change the view, I come here, then ngifaka kuma grams. Mangifaka kuma grams ngifaka u9. Because here the instructions u9 kumele ukuthi ungene. Let me try u90. Okay, again u90 kumele ukuthi ungene. Let me try u70. So u70 uyangena. So something is not right here. Let's go back to here to grams. Your validation rule, it says greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80. So this is supposed to mean akwazi ukuthi kungangena anything at less than or equals to 80. So how do we do that? How do you solve such a problem? Let's see, maybe when you change your view and finish everything, which is routine. Let's try U9 and then let's move to Jalada type and then let's say it's a ring. Jalada ID, it's not required. Validation date, it's not required. You can just put in the date and then you press enter. You must enter a value in the Jalada field. So Jalada field here too. Let's say Joel. Okay, now here what we have a problem here is that u9 wethu lona akumelanga ngabe uyangena kahle kahle, because we said in our instructions, our validation rule, it requires ukuthi kube into less than or equals to 80. Okay, let's change the view again to design view. This is where our validation rule says it's greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80. Now this is grams. Okay, let's type 8. Okay, this is kind of strange. Let's put in, press that. Let's put in raise time 10. Okay, now just to keep you at ease so that ungazukwazi share kakhulu with something efana nale mabe ukuthi usufika kuma exams, something efana nalena, it's possible for it to happen, but if you want to understand the one thing so that you are assured, if you are certain about the formula like I am njengamanje, because the instruction pretty sets it clear, the user can only enter a value greater than 10 and or less than or equals to 80. This is greater than 10 and this is less than or equals to 80. Now, because I'm certain of this, you are not going to be marked ukuthi sambila sayofaka iformula yakho lapha noma sawufaka number engekho less than 10, sawufaka number engekho equals to greater than 80. So lokho kukodwa kushukuthini, kusho ukuthi you're going to be marked based on your validation rule ukuthi uyifakile yini. Now let's go back to validation text. Now validation text, it works in both ways. Kwesikhathi you are required to come up with your own validation text. Kwesikhathi you are required to sebenzisa the validation text osukunikezwe yona. But validation text ke kulula ukuthi uyenzeke. Futhi sengifuna ukuthi ukukhumbule lokho ukuthi ukulula kanjani. Based on instruction osukunikezwe yona, you can take instruction yakho njengoba injalo. The user can only enter a value greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80. That is your validation text. You can always just copy leyo text yakho le osukunikezwe yona njengoba isuke njalo, uyithatha uhambe uyifaka copy, uyifaka lapha validation. Okay, don't copy because you're going to be writing it down. So you can always write it down exactly as it is given on the instructions. The user can only enter a value greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80, and then you go on and save. Now this still bothers me ukuthi azange zingene le ndlela, because you should have seen ukuthi why is it that azange zingene. Let's try 80, but still 80 uyangena, 81 uyangena. Kumele ngabe kahle kumele ngabe nje kukhona ukungangeni at all, at least kubonakala ukuthi validation rule is actually working. But again, let me assure you, when this is like this, you can rest assured ukuthi formula yakho isukuzomarkwa as you have done it. But let me try again this way. So let's try functions, operators. So maybe the instruction yako is greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80, and then you press OK, and then you save. Yes, okay. All right. So now the reason why we are having errors is because we already put out something on the other side of a database. So let us go back to database here too. Let us take this one off, and then let us go back to this side. So keep it and then let us try again the expression builder here too. So you're going to use the operators. So the operator says it's greater than 10 or less than or equals to 80. Then put OK and then save. Yes, okay. That is when cut during the operation validation rule. Comes. Okay, it seems like it's still giving us hard times, but maybe to put you at ease, let me show you how this thing gonna work. This is how it's gonna work. Oh, you are given something like jewelry or validation rule. Let's put a gender. If you are given something like a gender and then you are supposed to put in only a female, this thing is gonna require you to say on the validation rule F or M. There we are. So this is how the shot is supposed to come up with an exclamation mark. So when you go back to your validation, to your gender, uma ngabe ukuthi gender yakho ayinaye u-F laphayana, mhlawumbe ufaka u-X bese uthi enter, it won't allow you to kwenza lokho because i-value usuyifakile ufake i-value wrong. So again, sibuyela back to our instructions whereby you are supposed to put in the validation rule. So validation rule yakho izothi only F for female or M for male. So this thing will tell the person osuke enter data ukuthi ufaka only F for male or F for female. So uma ufake S ngeke uzungena because the instruction is required you to put only F for female or M for male. Let us move on to the next activity. Now, on the next activity, you are supposed to change the field properties of the end date field. But let us open a new database, 2015. Again, enable content is required for us to click. But generally, it requires us to see save because it's a read only. So this should not actually worry you because you're going to be straight from your computer. Now, this is where the instruction says, change the field properties of the end date field so that it does not accept a date after the year 2019. So I want to say we are back to validation rule 8. What am validation rule and validation text 8? Our stick is a pair only to into suyibhalile fana no male no female, even though now umuntu was actually limited to that. You can also able ukuthi ustrike ama date ukuthi ama date athile angavumi ukuthi angene. So siyahamba siya lapha ku end date wethu. Now masifika lapha ku end date, we have to open. Again kubalekile ukuthi ukhumbule ukuthi yini into sesikhuluma ngayo lana. So sesikhuluma ngani go table type. So sifuna bani u end date field. This we don't need as so this is our table type, and then we change our view to design view, and then we are looking for end date. Now remember, you have validation rule and validation text, but the data type yako is date and time. So you have to go to validation rule and tell the validation rule which it must not accept the date after the year 2019. So how do you do that? You have to say down here on your validation rule less than 2020. That is a straightforward instruction. So it's less than validation rule less than. Okay. What is my computer doing now? Okay, validation rule it's less than. If I'm getting so I'm going to use expression builder then you go operators, and then I'm gonna say less than 2020, and then I'm gonna press OK. Why is it not showing? Let me change the view so it means as long as I'm let me close again, and then let me reopen it. So it's 2015, and then I open the table, and then I change the view to design view. I go to end date, and then I go to validation rule less than 2020. Like I was saying before, database it's one of the app come with the most frustrations app ongasebenzisa Microsoft. So you're gonna find yourself losing a lot of marks. Now you see njengamanje intenzayo ikhomisa less than 2020 because instruction yakhona itheni akungangeni ama date angale kuka 2019. As it says here, it does not accept date after the year 2019. Appropriate validation test must be entered. Now, you do not have to stress yourself. Validation text. Validation text the very instruction is short. It does not accept a date after the year 2019. Validation text. Now, you save. Then you change the view. So mangabe sasiya lapha ku end date. So end date yethu sizoyibheka singawufaki u2020 mhlawumbe sizothi 2021. So it must not actually allow us to put u2021. So noma singamove set 2021, and then we move on. It does not accept a date after the year 2019. Kodwa uma sisebenzise bani u-2019, it will have accepted any date. Ukuthi nje laphana sisebenzise bani 2020. So 2019 I accept futhi. So uma sibuyela back sithi 2018, that's 2018. I was put you accept. So the only date I accept is date enjani? Must not accept the date after the 2019. It must accept ama-date enjani up before 2019. Another error futhi la esizobhekana nayo ileka greater than or equals to. This is less than 2020. Of which fanele sihlezi sikhumbule lokho ngesikhathi. Less than no equals to wasebenza kanjani. A friend of mine told me ukuthi njengoba kume kanje ukhombisa ngathi kumiswa kabani oka L. So this is gonna be your less than. So lokho kunye sekubani seku greater than. It's also very important for you to understand ukuthi less than no greater than mami kanjani, because we find ourselves putting ama rules or putting ama instructions esikusinika zowona sisitshatha right noma sitshatha siyazi kanti ngosuku it's a wrong instruction noma it's a wrong error. Now moving on, an appropriate field. So siyilungisile indaba yama appropriate field. So we're gonna move on to the next activity because we need to put as much activity as possible. Again here, change the field properties of the date in field so that the user can only enter the date between a particular date. So appropriate validation rule must be entered as a message. So what do we do? I'm gonna close. I'm gonna open 2017 now because this is where we actually required to do. So 2017. Enable content. The instructions. I am supposed to be working, change the field properties of the date in field so that the user can only, once you open a lot of things, so we're confused. There's only one table here, so you don't have to worry about how much table manning is now. Must be back to our instructions. Date in field. This is our date in field. Move back upon 2017 or 2017 mark. So the user can only enter a date between 2017 November 18 to 2017 November 28. Ngamanye amagama akumelanga ukuthi umuntu asebenzise any number ngaphandle kabani ka November 28. So nobani no November 18. So how do you do that? You have to change your view and then you have to go to date in. So kusema sifuna la sifuna ama date only whereby abantu abazongena lapha bazosebenza ngeensuku ezithile. So we have to say kune formula ke sibiza ngo between ngoba sesiyawazi ama date esinawo ukuthi awubani. So a validation rule must say between. Now remember, sesenze manje izinto ezingaphezulu kwezimbili ozosebenza ngobani ngo-validation rule. So kusho ukuthini? Ukuthi you're not going to come across with something eyodwa kuphela when it comes to validation rule. Ngeke uqhamuke no true or false. Ngeke uqhamuke no date and time. Uzoqhamuka nezinto engaphezulu kweyodwa. So kubalekile ukuthi uhlezi ubani uba clued apha but things uzobhekana nazo. So i-validation rule yethu lapha izofika ithi between bese ubhala date. Kubalekile futhi ukuthi ma uthi between bese ubhala date uyibona ukuthi akuthi ibhalwe kanjani, because njengamanje i-format yethu ithe year month day. So ukwazi wena ukuthi ngoba nakusunikeziwe usuku lakho lobani olu 2017 November 18 bese wena uyabuya yonza njani uyalapha yani uyobhala November 18 2017, because fanele formula yakho ibhala exactly njengoba usukunikeze yona lapha between this particular date and this particular date. Now lucky for me, I'm only copying here, but you will have to be writing it as it is. So kubalekile ukuthi date yakho unikeze isiqiniseko sokuthi uyibhala ngeformula noma ngeformat right. Asifuni ukuthi uba so frustrated ukuthi ubhale u28 November 2017 instead of 2017 November 28. So iformat yakho kufanele ukuthi uyibheke ibalekile kakhulu. Now remember, once waqeda ngeformula yakho kuzongena ama hashtag on your dates. This is not an error. Ama hashtags angena automatically mawufaka i-validation rule enani enama date. So I'm gonna save this one, but obviously it's gonna warn me ukuthi sekune information esikusifakiwe lapha, so it may be wrong. So if I decide ukuthi i-date engenayo manje la u31 So izonginqabela manje because sengifake ini i-data wrong singaphandle kwale information engishoyo. But angizange ngize ngiyifake ini, angizange ngize ngiyifake i-validation text. So i-validation text isebenza ngani? Isebenza ukuthi itshela umuntu ukuthi yena yini e-wrong esuke ngiyenza lapho. So uma kube ukuthi i-validation text ayifakiwe, usithola sosenkingeni ukuthi wena ufaka into utshela umuntu ukuthi ithile angayenzi, but awumtshelanga ukuthi kungani angayenzi. So usuyabuya, it must be between mentioned dates. The minute we save and then you change your view, uma ngabe ukuthi sekuyenzeka lapha you decide ukuthi akube inyanga yesi-12, then siyakutshela ukuthi it must be between mentioned date. So kubaluleke kanjalo ukuthi usebenzise ini, ukuthi usebenzise i-validation text. I-validation text isiza ngento ezifana nalezo. Uma ungayifaka i-validation text, umuntu will never know ukuthi yiphi into esuke i-wrong asuke eyenzile. Now moving on to i-activity elandelayo, noma i-idea elandelayo. Sithe masiqala isiclass lethu akhuluma ngama-input mask, ukuthi ezinye zezinto esizozibheka uma beqale lesson. Now input mask, it's whereby you tell the person ukuthi ngifuna i-format yami ye-computer ime kanje, noma i-format yami into sokuyibhala zime kanje. So i-code kahle kahle lesi-ethayo ukuthi si-create something with design view noma kwi-field properties for a particular data esifuna into ime ngendlela yakhona. Now I remember one time I watched this thing kwi-maths whereby bechaza ngama-number plates, ama-number plates akasebenza kanjani. Same thing applies ke abantu besolapha kwi-maths sebeqabangile bacabanga bagcina bephelele kuphi la kwi-computer, whereby yonke into abayenzayo safanele manje ukuthi ihambe yoba yini, yoba i-formula and then put into the system. So here we're gonna learn how to put in the input mask, whereby we give a code ukuthi uma ukuthi sifuna a particular something ime ngendlela ethile sizoyisebenzisa kanjani. But before we get to that, I need to understand ukuthi i-code yakho isebenza ngendlela eningi ehlukene. Noma ukuthi ufuna kuba ama-numbers usebenzisa o-0 bodwa, uma ukuthi ufuna kuba ama-letters usebenzisa o-L bodwa. And do not forget ukuthi o-L abasebenza o-L abangama-uppercase kuphela. Uma ukuthi ufuna kube i-number or kungabi i-number usebenzisa u-9 noma usebenzisa u-hash. Kanjalo futhi uma ufuna kube i-letter usebenzisa u-question mark, u-A noma u-A omncane. Uma ukuthi ufuna kube i-letter noma kungabi i-letter, remember u-L, it's a required thing. Will require you to put in the letter. Same thing with u-0, will require you to put in the number. But u-9 no-hash ungayifaka i-number noma ungangayifaka kodwa kuzosebenza. Same thing applies. I-question mark no-A or rather no-A omncane ungayifaka i-letter noma ungangayifaka izokwazi ukuthi injani iqhubeka. But u-L no-0 bangama-required, so ngamagama ukwazi ukuthi ungaqhubeka uyenze ungazange uzuyifake. So kubalulekile kakhulu lokho. So same thing nama-characters akho laphana. Ngenhlanhla yethu department esithandayo yonke le sheet lethu lelo sikulibona lapha lama-characters senikezwa lona at the end of our document, so that kuzoba lula ukuthi usebenzise. Now ubuyela back here, sino-0 njengoba sengichazile. So a user must enter a digit. Sino-9, a user can enter a digit. Same thing no hash. Sino-L, a user must enter a letter. Sino-question mark, no A omncane, a user can enter a letter. Kodwa A omkhulu, i-user must. So kuphoqelekile. So kanjalo no-and, i-user must enter i-character noma i-space u-end. The character noma i-space, kodwa akwazi ukuthi ungafaka anything else njenge-number. No-C futhi, user can enter characters of space. But kusho ukuthi lokho kusho ukuthi noma kuthiwa ukufakanga iyakwazi ukuthi iqhubeke. Now ke apply futhi again nama-characters akho laphaya, o comma, o full stop, exclamation, or semicolon, no minus, no forward slash. La whereby a decimal and 1,000 placeholders, the date, the time separator, uyakwazi ukusebenzisa for lezo esiyibona lapha. While greater or equals to, we convert i-character yakho to uppercase noma lowercase. The exclamation izokhoza input mask ukuthi fill in from left to right instead of from right to left. While backward slash, ama characters are immediately following will be displayed literally. then bese siba nama exclamation mark. Ama characters are enclosed, kuma double quotation will be displayed literally. Now we need to put this thing into use so that you understand it. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open a database. Yeah, the activity which ibe. So I'm gonna open 2017. Now with the 2017, remember we only have one table. So, but before we get to one table, here are the instructions. Create an input mask for the identity number field to accept data in the following format. So your data in the following format, I wish to follow 9, 0, 0, 7. It means follow all 0 because all these are numbers. And no 0 now, but some about my numbers are mangaki. And this is an ID number. We all know what ID number, no 0 about 18. So what does this mean? It means ID number yako follow to figure all 0 about 18. So where is our field, the identity number? This is our field, the identity number, and then we change the view. So see identity number, and then we go to input mask. Remember, I said 0 is a required number. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 0 becomes 11. You save, and then you change the view. So you see, when you get down here, you have already something like this. As a to figure in your numbers. Recently, at the number yako 91 03 29. So you see, mabu ukuthi so 13 wakho usudlulile ayisawazi ukuthi uqhubeke manje ama numbers akho because ithini lento ithi only 13 numbers kuphela. So input mask yakho isebenza kanjalo. So it's as simple as that. So now let us move on to the next instructions. Now here we are supposed to open 2015 so that kuzobalula futhi nakhona ukuthi understand ukuthi input mask isebenza kanjani. Remember those were only numbers. So ngiqhubeka futhi kwesikhathi kufanele siphinde sisebenze ini nama letters. Sisebenze nama letters nama numbers futhi kanjalo. So it's instruction yethu. Create an input mask for a survey code field ku table. So now we're gonna go to a survey field yethu. So the good type. So must figure out what you do. We're looking for a survey code field. This is our survey code field. We change the view. This is our survey code field. So if in the identification code. Now the instruction says we must have or we must accept a format and a compulsory capital letter. A compulsory capital letter, not a compulsory letter. Ubani L. So L is a compulsory. A user must enter. Ngathi mina mabe ukuthi it must convert to an uppercase mele kube greater than. So lokho kubalekile ukuthi ukukhumbule kahle ukuthi kusebenza kanjani. So mabe a compulsory capital letter, you're going to have to say greater than L, followed by either a compulsory letter or a compulsory digit. Remember, either followed by either a compulsory letter or a digit or kodwa lapho. So it must be either a letter noma ngaba yini a digit, followed by an optional digit. So ngaba I digit esizongena uma bekuthathana. So igama lisho ukuthi optional. So example yakho nansi ke manje ithini? Ithi AB1 noma B23 noma Z8 or H33. Kuba mhlawumbe sifanele sisebenzise ama letters ne number sofaka uLL0. But asisakwazi usifaka uLL0 lo 2 lo angena ngoba manje u10 uthe LL. Asisakwazi ukuthi LL0 ukuthi sibe ne space somewhere here ngoba uthe LL. But uLL0 will still apply here. Again, uma ngabe sizothi capital letter and then bese sithi ama numbers awu2. Asikwazi ukuthi ngana L00 because sine letter la. Asikwazi ukuthi L00, yes, here it can actually work. Sithi L00 ngeke kuzokwenzeka because u0 is required ukuthi number siyifake. Here asikwazi ukuthi L00 because sinani sine letter. So you need to understand how this thing works. Uma bethe compulsory something and when it's an optional something, compulsory will always work. Like this is compulsory. So that is why we are seeing UH cut, followed by a compulsory letter or a compulsory digit. So it's a compulsory letter or a compulsory digit. So nalokho futhi kubaleka ukukhumbula, followed by one optional digit. So this is optional. This is optional. Hence here asibone digit, and this is optional. Now let us go back to to it. So since code yethu, then we go to input mask. Now remember, ngithe kuwena greater than represent ukuthi your letter osuzoyifaka njengamanje iba njani, iba uppercase. Again futhi ngicela ukuthi ukukhumbule lokho, lo greater than noma lo L wakho lona will always remain in an uppercase. So awukwazi ukuthi u-L wakho ube ku lower case, ngeke izikwazi ukuthi recognize. Now sibuyele back. So right manje compulsory capital letter, sifuna manje either compulsory letter or a digit. So ngitheni mina, ngithe either compulsory letter or a digit izosebenza bani? Masibuyela back here. Now a user must enter a letter or a digit, but a user can enter a letter or a digit. So sibuyela back here. So you see, a letter or a digit will always be there, a letter or a digit, because it's compulsory. So uzosebenza bani lapho? Uzosebenza u-A. Njalo u-A wakho mkhulu, because u-A wakho wamncane kusho ukuthini lokho? Kusho ukuthi akuphoqelekile, ngasebenza noma kungangasebenza. Sibuyele back to here, followed by one optional digit. Now back 40 here into our instructions. See, I told you ukuthi lento ngenhlanhla yakho you can actually put it, you have it makuthi uzobhala exam yakho. User can enter a digit. It instruction yakho optional digit. So uzosebenza bani lapho? Uzosebenza u9, and then you save, you change the view. So njengoba sesiyile mase usurvey code wethu uzofike usifakele, ngeke ikwazi ukungena inamba sifake unamba, but uzosifakela inamba upper cases because sitheni say greater than, and then usifakele inamba optional. Again, we can always say sifuna letter, sifuna inamba, because sitheni either a number or a digit, sishiye kanjalo. Or we can always say a number, a digit, and then an optional digit. So Google look would actually work for us. Now remember, this is how it actually works. You have to have a compulsory letter L. You have to have a compulsory letter or a compulsory digit L1, A umkhulu, and then you have to have a one optional digit L9. Let's try it again. So manje let's vula 2016 and see what 2016 uzosiphathela. Another instruction that is required of us to do is create an input mask for the general field to ensure that the user inserted general ID in the following format. So now 3 compulsory letter, 1 compulsory letter, 1 but possibly 2 digits. So we are giving them instructions there. Now another thing for not to ukhumbule, law njoba a capital letter, law a lowercase, it matters this unless it was specified ukuthi ukhomazana letter wakho or 3 letters awube less than noma awube lower cases. So what does it mean? It means uma ngabe kuzodepend ukuthi ama caps akho walokhile noma zanguziwa lock, and then ayizokunikeza i-problem lwa ABC wakho lwa noma lwa ZDC wakho sokubona lapha. Remember, it's 3 compulsory letters. So what do? We go to jewelry ID, we go to table jewelry. This is our jewelry ID. Let's try and read it. Create an input mask in the jewelry ID field to ensure that the user insert the jewelry ID in the following format. Okay, so in our jewelry ID field, this is our jewelry ID field. So let's change the view. Now we're finding something because we have actually used this database before. So more this database is gonna come across it. To most database this is our jewelry ID field. We go to input mask. Now remember, first 3 digits are compulsory. Determine number digits akho ahleze L. Abazange bazobe specific regarding ukuthi it must be an uppercase or it must be a lowercase. 1 compulsory letter. Aphinde ngaspecify futhi ukuthi i-letter yakho mabe ukuthi i-compulsory. Sibuyele back here. It's 3 compulsory letters followed by 1 compulsory letter or digit. 1 comma is a letter or digit. So step 7 is about A. So we go and put in A. Remember, A wakho uzobungani uzobunga amagama amakhulu. Unless ukuthi ufuna lo A wakho lo ube ungabi composer uzofaka ube ubani u-A yomncane. And then what do we do? We go back to the instructions whereby it says at least 1 but possibly 2 digits. But not at least 1 but possibly 2 digits. It means at least 1. At least is nayo letter yokuqala, but possibly 2. So unani represent ukuthi iletha ungayifaka noma ungangayifaka. And then we save and change the view. So this means la ku jewelry ID we're gonna have something jewelry ID. Let's change the view. Let's jewelry ID. Save. There we are. So first 3 letters as far as ama numbers. So we put in the letters depending which letters are athini, and then in letter landelayo it can be either a letter or it can be a number. See, it actually works both ways. And then bese kuba last digit. So ngabe digit eyodwa noma singayifaka digit, but letter ngeke sizikwazi sisebenze lapho. All right, now let us move on to the next instruction. Now we also spoke about comma boxes nama list boxes ukuthi asebenza kanjani. So for you to put in comma boxes nama list boxes on your database, on your field or on your data type field, you have to able to go and do each data type esibiza lookup wizard. Now lookup wizard is actually a data type that will require us ukuthi sifake comma boxes noma something esizoyisebenzisa to look up for something. So I'm gonna type in the values I want and then we're gonna put in next. So standard, we can say M and then we say F. Now what does this mean? It means it's not gender manje laphayana or limited to the list esizosebenzisa and then we finish. So when you save this thing and change the view, let's feel like a gender. We no longer have to put or to type in ourselves. We just put on OM normal OF lapayana. So that is how a comma box, normal list box will actually work for us. So again, kubalulekile ukuthi understand ukuthi kuma properties akho you can change I row source yakho uyisebenzise ngale sifaya ngayo kodwa uye kuma sources akho on this other side of the database. Another thing is you can also put in under expressions whatever instruction usukuyenza. Let us try and put this thing in use so let's understand this sevenza kanjani. Let's open 2017. We have 2016 opened. Let's try 2017. We only have one table. The instruction says modify the expression of the calculated field code to return the first 3 letters of the visitor's surname. Now, what does this actually mean for us? It means finally ukuthi senze sure ukuthi this is activity 7. Finally senze sure ukuthi la ku code wethu, let us go back to code. This is our code. May, udan, d, ujoy, etc. Sibuke futhi instruction to modify the expression of the calculated field code to return the first 3 letters of the visitor's surname. Sizoya manje nanti code yethu and nanti is surname uMay, uDuncan, uDeclerk. So obviously ngoba ku D ngoba kune space laphayana uJoyce. So kungena bani first 3 letters. But what we are required to do here, because the code yethu siyibona kahle isisebenzile already, but the only thing that we are required to do ukuthi si modify in such a way the calculated field in such a way ukuthi isiba upper cases manje ayisabi lower cases noma asethatha njengoba injalo njengoba siyibuka lapha. So we need it in upper cases. So we change the view, we have it already here and we have it in expressions like I've mentioned earlier on. So muyibheka nathi lapha kuba expression iyabuyela noma nje iyafana nobani no Excel wakho whereby you are doing left no right. So you set left and then also ifaka ifield yakho eyobani surname. And then also the comma was specific ukuthi ufuna kuba mangakhe ama letters amathathu. So the only thing that is actually missing here is that we are supposed to put in this thing, comma upper cases. So what do we have to do here? We have to say left surname, but before we do that, we have to say greater than. So that is the only thing that is actually missing. Just put on, okay. Let's put this one. This one is not working. First list of the visitors. Okay, let's go back to modify the fit code to return the first letters of the visitors. Okay, but it's already done. Okay, this requires no changes. We put it again. It's equals to left, right, and then you open the bracket. Surname 3. Save. Okay, it appears as if it's already been done, so we don't have to worry much about it. But just for the lesson, first 3 letters you go to a code noma kufide losukuyifuna, and then you be specific ukuthi lo fide oyifunayo ekuphi ika left noma lo gama olifunayo ika left, and then you specify with ama block bracket as we have mentioned, or as you have learned during the course of the year, ukuthi feed yakho uyisebenzisa usebenzisa in ama block bracket. So we're going to be saying left, and then you put in the block bracket as a name, and then you're going to say 3 letters ako left, and then you put it like that. Let's see if we can have enough time to put in something extra here. Okay, so sinama queries. Now ama queries you want to sefuna siwaqala manje, but because of isikhathi ama queries ngeke sikwazi kwaqala siwaqede. So njengoba manje sizogcina khona la kuma table. So next week we're going to try and do our queries kanjalo nama forms, because it's very important for us to learn about such things. You can always register for ukuthi ukwazi ukuthola ama notification ku YouTube kanjalo naku Facebook mabe ukuthi uyawadinga wonke lama lessons. Uma unembuzo ungakwazi ukuxhumana nathi ku WhatsApp enambeni oyibona lapha into your screen. Siyabonga kakhulu ngesikhathi senu, siyathemba ukuthi weekend izoniphatha kahle. Please be good. Thank you.
Siyathemba nifunde kahle nasithokozela isifundo sethu sanamhlanje enisethulelwe ngezilokotho ezinhle Ithala libambisene neGo Digital SA Foundation. Thamelani ke futhi esilandelayo ngesikhathi sifanayo, ningakhohlwa ukumema nabanye abafundi bebanga le-12 ukuze nabo basizakale kulolu hlelo. Uma ninemibuzo noma nifisa ukuxhumana nathi, ningasithinta ngokufaka imibuzo yenu kwinombolo yethu ye-WhatsApp ethi 068 151 1072. Mfundi, ungakhohlwa ukubhala isifundo obuza ngaso ngaphambi kokubhala umbuzo wakho. Angiyiphinde inamba yethu 068 151 1072. Siyabonga.